how to create an interactive and dynamic map chart in Excel that whenever you change here the criteria, the year in the list, in the data validation that you have, the chart is automatically updated for you. So let's find it out. How can you do it step by step from scratch? Let's go. To create any type of chart in Excel, we basically need to have a data set. And to create the map chart is no different. We need to have a data set. And as the first column, I'm using here some locations. I'm using states to be more precise, but you can use regions, countries, postal codes, and so on, so on. So basically, you need to have as the first column some locations, and then for the next columns, you can have some values. So, for example, here I'm using currency, but you can also use, for example, percentage or any other type of values. But it's important to have one column with the location and another column with values. Okay? Now to create the chart, I'm gonna select the first and the second column. Why not select everyone here? Because I want to create a dynamic chart in Excel. And I want to have the option to choose the year that I want to be showed in my chart, okay? So instead of just display, let's say, all the values 2023, 24, 25, 26, I want to choose which year I want to show in the chart. So in order to do it, I'm just going to select, for now, these two first columns, okay? So let me select the first one and the second one to the end of my data, okay? Now I'm gonna click here, insert, I'm gonna choose a map chart, and this first option right here, the only option. I'm gonna move this chart to the right a little bit. I'm gonna increase here the size of the chart, like this, for example. I think it's good. I'm gonna just move it to the left a little bit, like this. I think it's good. So in order to make the values change dynamically here in the chart, whenever I change the year, whenever I choose another year, for example, I need to make something here. But as you guys can see, the chart is already working. If it's displaying here for me the values that I just select here in this second column, 2023. But let's create here the first thing, data validation. And whenever I click here in the cell, I'm gonna have a list of options about the years 2023, 2024, 25, 6, and so on. And I can choose any year that I want. And whenever I choose a new year, the values is gonna automatically change for me. So let's select here, let's say, the cell J, K, and L, for example. And then I'm gonna click Home tab. I'm gonna merge together all the cells. So merge and center, for example. And instead of just typing manually the year, 2024, 2025, for example, I want to create a list. So I'm gonna go here to data, and then to the right, data tools. I'm gonna click here in data validation. And instead of using allow any value, I'm gonna use allow list. I'm gonna click here in source in this upper arrow, and I'm gonna select here all the cells that contains the 2023, 24, 25, and 26 year. And then I'm gonna click in this L arrow and then OK. And as you guys can see, the data validation is already working, and I can choose any year that I want. But the values is not yet automatically updated for me. So I need to do it. I need to do this automation, let's say that way. And to do this automation, we're gonna need to use basically two functions in Excel. The first one is gonna be the index function, and the second one is gonna be the match function. But let's start here with the index function to understand. And then we're gonna need to take the match function and put within the index function. So we're gonna need to append the match function to the index function. But let's start here with the index function. Equal sign index function. Let me double click here, 1, 2. The first thing that I'm gonna select here, and the first thing that the index function is asking me, is the array. As the array, I'm gonna choose here all the values that I have within the columns 2023, 24, 25, 26, but I will not select here the titles, the headers, okay? I'm gonna stick with only the values. I'm gonna select everyone here, okay? Now I can come back here to the beginning of the spreadsheet and then comma. As row numbers, I'm not using nobody here, so I'm gonna leave it blank. I'm gonna just type it in again, comma, But the column number, I'm gonna use the column number. So let's say the column number, I'm gonna choose the number 3, for example. Let's see what's gonna happen here. 3, and then close parentheses, enter. As you guys can see, I have here the return of a bunch of different values. And as you guys just remember, I type it in here the number 3. This number 3 here stands for the column number 3. In the range that we just selected before, this range right here, the column number 3 is 1, 2, 3, 2025, for example. So this is the column that corresponds to that number 3 that we just typed in before. So this is why, as you guys can see, all the values that I have here is exactly the same the values that I got here as result in my index function. So it's matching the values. But if I change, let's say instead of using the number 3, I'm gonna use the number 1, for example. And you guys gonna see that all the values that I'm gonna have here as result is gonna be exactly the same the values that I have in my first column, 2023. So pay attention here. Instead of using the number 3 as the row number, I'm gonna change to 1. Enter. Look, now all the values, I can take this as reference, for example, are matching with all the values that I have here that I got as result. And in order to make this dynamic, we are almost done. But instead of manually typing in the column number 1, 2, 3, 4, or so on, I need to make it dynamic. Whenever I change here the year, for example, 2023, that corresponds to the first column, taking as reference the range that we selected, instead of doing it manually, I can use the match function to help me. So I need to append a function within another function. And whenever we use a function within another function, it's called nested function. And this is exactly what I'm going to do here. So before we just append one function to another, let's understand how the match function works. So equals sign match function. Let me double click here, 1, 2. My lookup value here in my match function is going to be the 2023 year, for example, comma, and it's important to select the cell instead of just manually typing 2023 within the criteria, because whenever I change the year in my data validation, in my list, the function is also going to be automatically updated, okay? My lookup array in this example here is going to be these values that I have, 2023, 24, and so on, the headers of the columns, comma, and I can use here an exact match, for example, so 0, close parentheses, enter. Look, if I just choose 2023, I got as result the first column. And if I change this year right here to 2025, I got as result the number 3, because the 2025 year is in the first, no, the second, no, the third column. Yes, it's in the third column. So this is why I got here as result number 3. Knowing that, now we can merge, we can use both functions, the index and then the match function within the index formula function. Equal sign, index. Let's do it again. Double click here. My array is going to be all the numbers that I have here. To the end, I'm going to select. Okay. I'm going to come back here, comma. My row number is nobody, so comma again. My column number, it can change. So I need to use here the match function to help me with this. Double click it, 1, 2. My lookup value is going to be the year, comma. The lookup array is going to be the headers of the columns, comma. And I want to use 0 because I want an exact match. So double click here, close parentheses, and again, let's see if it's going to work. Enter. And yeah, it's correct. If you take any value here as sample, for example, you can see that the value are matched with the result. And I can change here also the year to 2024, 2026. And as you guys can see, the values are also automatically changed. Now we're done. One thing that I can do to hide all these values, for example, I can click in the whole column, the entire column, and then right click, and I can use the hide option. Or I think it's better, leave the numbers here, but take the chart over the numbers, like this, for example, and we're done with the problem, let's say that way. Okay, the chart here is in the screen. Let me just increase a little, like this, for example. Okay, I can delete this title right here. Now with the cells where I have the data validation, I can click here. I'm gonna make some changes in the design. So for example, I'm gonna use a white color in the font, and to the background, I'm gonna use gray, for example, and I'm gonna put it in bold, like this, for example. Now I can click here in the map chart, and I can go to Format, Shape, Outline. I can choose, let's say, a gray color to match with the background of my data validation. And we have this result right here. Now I can double click in my map chart just to open this right panel here. And I know that the map chart is not automatically changed for me the values, but I'm gonna improve it. Okay. Let's come here to the map area. We can make some changes here, but I'm gonna stick with the automatic option. Map labels, I'm gonna choose show all. And as you guys can see, now I have the names, the categories within each one of the areas here in the chart. Each one of these tiles. I don't know if I can say tiles, but let's say that way. Let's click here in the series color, and then instead of using sequential two colors, I'm gonna use diverging, for example. And here, as the minimal value, I'm gonna choose a red option, but you can choose your own color. You can choose the color you want. For the midpoint, I'm gonna choose yellow, and for the maximum point, I'm gonna use a green one, like this, for example. Now, another change that I can do here to make the chart a little bit more pleasant to look at is click here in the effects, shadow. I'm gonna choose the first option of shadow. For transparency, I'm gonna choose 30%. Blur, I'm gonna just use in 2, for example. And distance, I'm gonna stick with 2, or maybe 4. Let's see. I think 4 is better. Now let me just come here to the fill and line. I'm gonna choose border, solid line, and here I'm gonna choose a black option, for example, and the width I'm gonna change to 1. Okay, or I think maybe 1 is too much. I'm gonna decrease a little to half, for example, 0.5. Yeah, I think it's better. Now I can click in the area of the chart, for example, in the plot area, not in the styles, not in the tile itself, but here in the area, the outside area, and then I can go to the fill, gradient fill, and I can paint the background of the chart. I'm gonna choose a blue option here in the gradient fill because we know the ocean is blue, the sea is blue. So I'm gonna choose as gradient, maybe this option right here, accent 5. I think this one is good. Okay, now we can close it. And we're done, guys, with the chart. And of course, if you wish, you can just select here this legend and read it off, because now we just have more space to the chart itself. Now let's make it automatically change whenever I change here the year. So let's click here in the chart, and as you guys can see, I have basically 2 ranges. The first one is in this purple color, and the second one is in this blue column. I'm gonna take this blue range right here, and I'm gonna move it to the right up to the column I, for example. Why to the column I? Because in the column I is where I have the values, for example. Oh, wait a minute. As you guys can see, whenever I just move the reference, I lost all the chains, all the designs that I just made before. So let me press here Ctrl Z to undo this action, and then I'm gonna do something different here. Let me just right click in the chart, and then I can go to select data, and here in the series 1, I'm gonna click edit, and instead of using the column C, I'm gonna read it off the C and type it in I. And here also in the second C, I'm gonna change to I, for example. I'm gonna click OK, and OK again. Yes, guys, we're done. And that way we just didn't lost all the work that we did before. And whenever I change here the year, for example 2025, as you guys can see, the chart is automatically updating for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you like it, give it a thumbs up, okay? And if you have any questions, any suggestions to the next videos, let me know, comment down below, and I see you tomorrow as every day has a new video. I see you there.